Hello, Sean here, and today I want to talk about courage and the example of the late Pope Francis. So here I've got this article from the Guardian newspaper. It was published yesterday, entitled "Pope Francis Hailed as Unflinching Global Champion on Climate Crisis." And I found out that the late Pope was incredibly committed to the protection of the environment, and to such an extent that it was enshrined in Catholic doctrine in two encyclicals that he put out first in 2013 with the Laudato Si, and then with a follow-up encyclical in 2023 called Laudate Deum. And in a nutshell, he made the destruction of the environment a sin. I had no idea about this, and it really had a deep impact on me. And I was reminded of work I did with a client recently. The engagement came to an end recently, and at one point during this engagement, my client told me about an analogy that a mentor of his had shared with him years ago, and I want to share it with you. He talked about struggles at work, ethical issues around ethics, and being someone who is very deeply driven by ethics. And his mentor shared with him this idea that there are two types of people in the world. There are tent people and there are castle people. And I believe this came from, maybe it was popularized by Stephen Haidt, a psychologist. That's not important. The way that this was presented to my client was in the following way. The idea is that tent people are willing to tolerate more uncertainty, risk. There's less space between them and their surrounding environment, whereas the castle is safe. So the castle dwellers are protected behind these thick, high walls, but also castle dwellers the castle is large, you have to live together, there's more hierarchy, it's potentially more politicized, there's more jockeying for power. And in a nutshell, my client was told by his then mentor that a great deal of the friction in his work life had to do with being a tent person, someone who was actually meant to be in the great outdoors, exposed to risk, exposed to uncertainty, being in an environment with castle people. And I was thinking about the late Pope, Pope Francis, and it seems clearly that he was a tent person. Even when he was in the castle, he did not abide by the rules of the castle. He abided by his own inner compass. And the more I read about him, the more inspired I feel. And I wanted to share this reflection with you. Are you a tent person trying to survive in the castle? And if you're struggling with that, I'd love to hear either in the comments or in a DM what you make of that metaphor. What does it mean to be a tent person living in the castle? Thanks for watching. And if you want, I will include the link in the description. Thanks for watching.